Yeah, it's already recording. So, I guess, do you want to introduce yourself to people who don't know what the fuck is going on? You know?
I'm Alexandra, otherwise known as Manapool, sometimes known as Rival Dealer. I'm a musician in St. Louis and an artist.
It's like, what 3 words would you use to describe yourself?
Oh man, me or like the music?
You. Yeah, we want to learn about you.
Okay.
We definitely want to learn about you.
Shadow.
Shadow?
That's going to be the first one.
Why Shadow?
I'm a pretty open person, but I feel like as of late I've been more intentionally less open. Like I've been kind of finding safety and shrouding myself, you know, in a way. Whether that's like visually or socially, you know? Kind of like harnessing my energy in a way. But besides that, I would say the second word would be romantic. Just like, I see like the romance and everything to the point where it's probably an issue. Like probably a little bit too much.
Okay.
And I guess a third word, probably ambitious. I just like have this drive, this like unobtainable thirst and hunger for everything I do.
To just like be the best at it?
Yeah.
Word.
Yeah, I love that. I don't know what it is.
I guess like on the topic of ambition, like my next question would be, when did you start, what would you say that you started believing like fully in your ideas? And like, when did you really become like confident enough to start sharing your art with people and just like being you to the most? Because like you don't just like do music, but like you are a whole like aesthetic in itself.
Right.
So like, when did you start feeling like
probably,
I'm just gonna pop my shit, like whatever?
Yeah, probably pretty young. I mean, probably.
So you've always been making like art and shit and sharing with people? Or?
I mean, the only dream I've ever had was to become like a musician or an artist and make money doing it and live off of that. But in high school is when I started playing in bands, and I was in like screamo bands, things like that. But I also was in a couple college art programs where I was like, I'm a pretty talented painter and did a lot of illustrating. I also did graphic design in high school. And I ended up being in this college program where we were basically doing like college level art courses. And yeah, I don't know, everyone, it was like stuff where every time we finished a project, it'd be put up in the main hall and everyone would see it. And I also have always kind of expressed myself through what I wear pretty openly. And that's another thing where it's just been like that.
Who would you say is your biggest fashion inspiration?
Man, probably either like people that aren't real. Like, for instance, I like a lot of the fashion and like Ghost in the Shell and like Akira, like these animes about kind of like, they have this like future realism about the way they dress. Like it's pretty brandless looking, and like big coats, like big pants, and then like a tight plain.
So do you really say, would you say that you care for like fashion, like you care for like,
but then on the other hand, I would say people that exist would be a lot of like musicians in this Japanese music genre called Visual Kei. And Visual Kei took a lot of like, they basically could look anywhere from like David Bowie and like the goth 80s era to kind of like the whole nu metal style that was really big in would design their own outfits for each show. And
would it be imitating the artists that they are inspired by, or
not really?
It would just be like their outfits are really like the centerpiece of.
So it's like they would have designers, or they would have like people who could actually manufacture the clothes, and then it was a guitar player in this band, Duran Gray, that would design all the outfits, and they would all be different outfits for each member, but they would all go together. And at first, it started out as like they were pulling from like Victorian era, like kind of like goth, like really just like flamboyant, but like in a like dressed up nice way. But then it went from that to like they kind of just took nods from everything in a way when it got to the 2000s, because they were dressing like grunge bands and like new metal bands, like I was saying, and the whole style of Visual K. It's called Visual K because the visual aspect is just important to the rest of it. And it's encompassed so many different styles. So in terms of like specific people, it'd probably be like Kyo and like Karu and like Dai and Shinya from Duran Gray, just all of them. It was also like the first fashion or way of dressing or presenting yourself thing that I ever saw where like dudes were looking like girls. Like they all just like look like girls, but it's not like a gender way. It's just like
how they just like on some like
just what they wanted to look like.
Just like on some just very casual shit. They weren't like trying to do some like Hello Kitty type shit. Like
no, nothing like that at all. They just look like beautiful women, like all these guys, and some of them did end up transitioning, but that was kind of like my introduction into this kind of like femininity, but like wrapped in like a male's body, if that makes sense, you know?
I feel like there has to be a balance of masculine and feminine energy in order to be like a good human being. You know what I'm saying? Because if you're too much of either, then you're fucked up. Like if you're too feminine, then you know what I'm saying. When you in the jungle, like you're gonna get eaten up. But if you're too masculine, then you're just gonna be like doing too much. Then you're gonna kill yourself. Like you're doing too much type shit.
Exactly.
So okay, I fuck with that.
Like basically Japan. Japan is like my biggest fashion inspiration.
Japan do got a lot of hard hitters in terms of designers, like Kanzai Yamamoto.
Exactly.
That man was
like
designing for David Bowie.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I fuck with all those Japanese brands, especially like the streetwear stuff, like H Noda, and like just historic glamour, hysteric glamour.
Oh yeah.
Like all that like classic early 2000s stuff I love. Like.
Okay. So on the topic of that, like, if you had to describe Mana no Uda as a place, where would it be?
I would describe it as there's two places. They're both clubs. The first one is a club that you go to with all your friends, and you guys are gonna do ketamine, and it's gonna be fun and crazy, and everyone does ketamine, and everyone's having fun, and then you do it. And then you start having a bad time, but everyone's too busy like having fun, and like you're not gonna inconvenience your friends. So you're kind of stuck at the club, a little too high, having a bad time. It's that, and then it's also the club when you're going to the club and your girlfriend is mad at you and starts a fight with you on the way to the club, and then you still gotta play your show. You still gotta be there. Like those are the two places that Mana no Uda.
That second one was a little.
That second one is personal. That's it. You know. You know.
Shit.
Yeah.
Shit.
I took it there. We're talking about Mana no Uda now. Like we're in the shadow realm.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, like I gotta say, my first time listening to this album.
Yeah.
I gotta be real. Like I was like, what the fuck? What the fuck is this?
It's really
my first time listening to this shit.
Yeah.
And I remember I told you, I was like, I feel like it's rebellious. That's really the only way I had to describe it, because it felt like a tornado. Like it was just a whole bunch of shit. And then after listening to it, after kind of reading up on kind of your experiences with the creation of this project, after reading that and then going back and listening to it again, it was like each song had its own story and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's like
and like the project just became like more and more like, when you first listen to it, I feel like this generation, when we listen to music, we're listening to some shit and we're like trying to get something from it, like, because this generation is instant gratification. So we listen to some shit like, you make drum and bass music, we're like, okay, I'm trying to get a drum and bass vibe right now.
Like a beat,
But your shit, like, what I love about your shit is like, you actually tell a story without words.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that that's crazy how you can put those little subtle things in there that tell that story. So like, when I listened to it again, I was like, each song like was like Born to Make You Happy and shit like that. Like each song was telling a little story. Like each song was telling its own story. Each song was like telling an event basically.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
So like, I thought that was crazy. That was my like second or third time listening to it, and listening to it over again. It was like that's like the second stage of listening to it, and the third stage, I just wanted to fucking dance. Like the third stage, I just wanted to twerk to that shit. Like,
Exactly.
I was like, I was mad.
Every vibe. Like the first run through is like, this is dark. You're having a bad time at the club. Second run through, it's like, okay, this makes sense where you're going through. Third run through, most important, I just want these shorties twerking the night.
Oh God, like,
that's all I want.
The third one, I ain't gonna lie, like I was listening to Born to Make You Happy
that shit goes
yesterday in the morning at work. Yeah. And then that shit started breaking down, and I was like,
when it kicks all the beats out, just the bass.
Oh, I was like, why the fuck do I want to dance to this shit?
Yeah.
But I feel like that's really the three stages of like, I want to speak on your experience of what you went through.
Go ahead. No,
but I feel like that's the three stages of, I don't know if is it grief?
I would say
like
it's
that you lost something.
Sense, yeah.
Like the first stage is like, what the fuck, shock.
Yeah.
The second stage is like, you kind of replaying everything,
right?
Like, going through that shit. And then the third stage is like, fuck it, I'm just gonna dance, like fuck it.
Exactly, kind of like celebrating that it's over, you know? And that's kind of what I wanted the album to be, was like, I felt so negative for longer than a year, but leading up to it a year, you know? I felt so negative about my life and like, almost nihilistic, that once I decided to make the decision that I made that would change my life, I just had all this resentment. You know, just all this shit built up in me that I took along with me because of the situation I was in. And I wanted to just deposit all of it, you know? Like, just like, put it all into something and then walk away from it. But it's funny because that's not how anything works, like, at all, which I like learned recently.
Do you feel like with your projects, do you feel like you make them in connection to each other, or do you feel like you just take it as it goes, and then you each so basically what I'm trying to say is, are your projects in relation to one another, or are they all singular?
I want to say
like vibes?
I want to say no, as much as I want to say no, but at the same time, like, yeah, they're all connected to each other. Like, they all, like, if you listen to whatever, like, and then listen to the album that came out before it or after it, you'd be able to kind of put a through line there, you know? Because I always do this thing where I'll put an EP out, and then I'll put an EP out before I put an LP out. Like, right now I have a big LP that I'm planning on making next year, and I'm
really excited for that.
Yeah,
I'm really excited for that.
Like
always excited for new Manapool music.
You're really gonna like it. But for instance, I have like the concept and everything, and like, but I have these 5 songs right now that are probably the best things I've ever made. And they're getting it. When I finished the last one, I was like, this sounds like what the LP is gonna sound like. And then I was like, no, I'm gonna package this up and like make it an EP, you know? Because anything I make after these 5 songs will be better than these 5 songs. You know what I mean? Like, I felt like I touched like the LP for a second, and it was almost like, should I put this song in the LP? And I was like, no, package it all up right now, put it out. And then by the time the LP's made it, it'll be even better than this. And that's kind of how I approach everything, like every project. Like if you look back at my discography, it's like EP, LP, like EP, collab EP, LP, like just like leading up to it.
So do you ever plan to drop any singles?
Yeah, totally. I just kind of I would drop a single for this EP that's about to come out, but like, I don't know, it's all too good.
Give it to them, they need it.
Yeah,
the people
exactly.
need the streets need it.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I'm just gonna drop the whole thing on them. Like,
Okay.
it's like
So you don't like to drop singles?
I do, but this will probably be the only time that I haven't dropped a single for the project. Maybe I'll drop one, but it's high key. Like every one of these songs is so good.
For sure.
That it's like you're just gonna take it.
So
but they are connected. I will say that because like everything I make is pretty emotionally transparent. Like I can't really help it. And so even with Mano Uda versus like Silent Core, which Silent Core was pretty clean, but there's like a lot of notes, like emotional notes of like thinking about shit in Silent Core. Like Silent Core is pretty pensive and
it's kind of like
sad.
on the fringe.
Yeah, it's like almost sad. And I feel like even though those two albums sonically are pretty different in terms of like how they're made, Mano Uda and Silent Core, I feel like you can hear me getting to the point I was getting to.
That's what I was about to say. I was like, now that I'm thinking about it, Silent Core, like, it has those moments where it kind of gets down, but then like it gets picked up. It's like you're trying to avoid going back down there type shit.
Mano Uda is just like going down.
Yeah, down. Yeah,
and this new EP that I'm putting out, which I'm just gonna call Alexandra 2, that's my name. I have like,
that's so fucking hard. Like you're not trying to be like you're not trying to like be an aesthetic. Like you're just like.
It's probably just gonna be a picture of me that someone took on their phone.
And that shit would be hard. And I think we should put that shit on t-shirts.
Yeah,
like, Alexander 2 on some real shit.
And Alexander 2 is like, it's kind of more getting back to that Silent Core pensive vibe, but at the same time, it's all really sad too. It's a lot lighter, and it's a lot kind of more healing, I would say. But it's kind of like dealing with the aftermath of making something like Mano Uda and like going through it. You know what I mean? Like things are better now, but like that darkness is still there for sure. So yeah, I think they're all connected, even though I want to act like they're not, and they're all separate things.
For sure, you writing your own story, I think that's really important.
One thing I will say, this was really cracked. So we haven't talked about like the conception of Mano Uda. We don't have to. But something about this is when I realized that all this stuff is connected. Was I broke up with someone that I lived like 16 hours away with by car, and then I drove all the way home. And I remember when I drove all the way home, I listened to everything I've ever put out in chronological order, like every project, and that's when I kind of realized I was like, oh yeah, this is all connected. Like I listened to everything I ever put out, because I was driving for 16 hours. It took me like 4 hours. But by the end of it, I was like, wow, like there's like a through line throughout all of this.
Isn't it beautiful to like listen to like
it was awesome.
The progress and how you started and everything?
I was listening to old ass albums, like, damn, I've always had it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I've always had it.
It's
like,
pretty rare to come across people who think of their old art like that.
I was like, I'll never do this. You know what I mean? I might as well just fucking do it. And then I did it and was like patting myself on the back. I was like, it's just alright.
To any artist starting out right now, like on their bedroom, like just trying to grind this shit, trying to see, because I mean you are getting to the point where you're like, you're seeing your vision as a teen or whatever, you're seeing your vision being realized now, like you're DJing shows, saying Materia is doing this thing, like you just came back from LA. So like you're getting to, say it again?
Shout out Tears in the Club.
Shout out Tears in the Club.
My ex-girlfriend, love you.
So,
that's it.
But you're getting to the point where like you're seeing your vision being realized. So like now, yes, life fucking sucks sometimes, but like you're able to get in the studio and like get focused. You're able to transcend your shit a lot easier now. Would you say that?
Yeah.
That's true. So like, with that being said, what would you say to an artist who they're trying to get to that point where they can see their vision realized, but they're just starting out? What would you say to artists just starting out?
I could say a lot, but I'll give like a quick rundown. Be serious about it. Like, be serious about it, and not in the way that's like you're trying to follow a pattern, but just like find your own thing that you really like and you want to share with people, and then focus on that, and only focus on that. Make your own genre. Like, everyone's doing all this stuff. You can make something that sounds like other stuff, but try to like make your music or whatever you make have so much of you in it that people will know it's you when it's played. And because like people will say that to me even about DJ sets. Like, they know when I start DJing just by what they're hearing. Those things. But also a really important thing is this social media shit is really important, and you're like, the perspective you give people of yourself and your brand is really important, but at the same time, it's a fucking game. Like, you don't need to be going at it and stressing about it. What you need to do is like keep like a mysterious profile and like kind of only put out yourself. Like, don't pour yourself out to it, but play it like a game. Like, figure out what you have to do to get like engagement or whatever, and a lot of times what that looks like is you make friends at your level, and then you work together, and then you create kind of like a social media ecosystem where you're all sharing each other's stuff and supporting each other, and you grow that, and then that will kind of push you farther than doing it all on your own. I mean, that's like how I got to where I am, is just by making friends and working with friends and putting stuff out with friends and like creating all these little ecosystems to exist in. But basically, just be you. Be serious about it and keep doing it. If you're like really young and you live with your parents right now, it's fucking perfect. Like, go figure out how to make whatever genre of music you want to make, like hire some lessons, do some research, and then just do it. And don't get hung up on not putting something out or perfecting something, because like, I don't know, I've put out like 10 albums now. Like, just do it, just put it out. Like, that's how people consume stuff now. A lot of the times, if you overwork something, it'll put like a bad energy in the art. So just kind of like make stuff not as fast as you can, but don't second guess yourself. Just put stuff out and just keep moving forward and keep it consistent. But also do it with your friends. That's such crazy good advice. Yeah, I was like,
that's some good shit right there.
I get hired to like do artistic consulting
that's some good
now.
Shit right there.
So I'm like, okay, you're gonna
tap in with Manapool to get y'all fucking consulting.
And hey, if you need lessons, I got that shit too.
Shout out to the Shakers, like, let's do this shit.
Come on.
That was I'm like, I'm not putting that out. Like, that was too good.
Methods.
That's everything you fucking need right there. Like,
yeah, if you want the short one, fucking play the game, bro. Just get in, log in, you know, lock into this fucking game that all this stuff is, and make friends. Like, that's what it is. Okay. Do it with your friends. Like,
wow.
And don't gatekeep shit, because like you look like so much of a dork. Like, if you're gatekeeping stuff and like keeping people from figuring out how to do something, because like, that's why I make it so readily available, because it's not that, I mean, I care and I want people to have the same resources as I do, but I'm also not self-conscious enough to think that these people can make something better than me with the
I think the misconception is people think that if everyone has equal tools, then like no one will be special. But the thing is, we're all individuals,
right,
and we all have something about us that makes us special. So like, us having access to the same shit is not going to make us any less special. It just means that you're helping the next man, and I feel like that's good karma that comes back to you.
Right.
That's like,
It is good karma. I will say that, like, because like, I don't really talk about it a whole lot, but I put a lot of people on. Like, if anything, I feel like I do that more than I put myself on, and you know, for a minute there with like everything I was doing, I was like, I'm just doing my best trying to like help these younger artists, but it's all came back in a circle. All of that like good energy I put into like helping people has come back to me, and that's why I'm like, do stuff with your friends, you know, and like that's also why I said in the beginning of my method, tap in, just make it you. You know what I mean? Like I run a Discord with like 200 people in it, and every time I get some shit that's really good, like sample pack or VST, whatever, I give it to everyone for free, because I know, one, mine's always going to sound like me, and then all the stuff I get back, it's going to sound like them. And then it's also going to be inspiring. You know what I mean? Because you're like, oh, I didn't even think about it.
You're helping other people.
Yeah.
Support it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Support it. Most definitely.
Because if you build like a cycle of support, you'll just always have it. You know what I mean? And then eventually you'll start like tapping into supporting people naturally. Like people that you just meet and you're like, oh, I really like what they're doing, or like how me and you have talked, like we speak the same like creative language, you know? And I don't know, that's like another thing with like
so people need to like not be afraid of opening up.
Right. People get all worried about on social media, like, oh, I don't want to share this person's stuff because it will take away from mine. Fuck that. Like, as much as you are like a product of your work, like you're a product of everyone around you. You know what I mean? You gotta tap in on that.
Wow, that's real shit.
Yeah,
that's,
you know?
That's real. Wow. Okay. So with that, like, do you think of the future much in terms of your creative? Like, I find myself personally, like especially doing everything I've done this year, I feel like sometimes I worry about the future too much. Like, I'm one of those people that's like, I stay focused on like what I want to be in life type of person. Like, I'm not that type of person that's gonna like hang around too much, like on some like just drifting aimless shit. Like, I always be thinking about like, okay, I want to be successful, you know, whatever I want to be, you know what I'm saying? I always think of it like that. So do you find yourself worrying too much about the future, like what the future of music looks like? You know, like shit like, I feel like shit like the music industry right now, like, and how it's changed. Do you ever think of shit like that? Or what do you think the future of music looks like?
The future of music in general, I don't fucking know. And I don't really care. Like, cause like, to be honest, the whole music industry right now is cooked. Like, you know, and I feel like the way we navigate it now, it almost has nothing to do with the music industry. But at the same time, in terms of me personally, I mean, yeah, I have like regular anxieties that I feel like anyone would have, you know, in the sense of like, is this the right career choice? How long can this go? And am I doing bad things to myself? You know what I mean by making this choice? But at the same time, I wouldn't say I like worry about the future, because I've manifested that worry into like, I always have like my life planned out like 3 or 4 months ahead. Like, I basically have my life planned out right now from December 2023 to April 2024. And then after that, I have plans for the summer. You know what I mean? Like, and it's not that they're just plans or things that I want to do, but they're more so, this is what you're working towards. Like, this is your goal. You know what I mean? And by keeping myself that way, I feel like I'll probably be anxious about the future or anxious about achieving these goals, but at the same time, I'm not, because I'm too busy working on achieving them. You know what I mean? To really think about it. And then if, say, some of the stuff doesn't work out, it's like, well, you spent all this time at least preparing. You know what I mean? Like, at least you're like better for what you did. And I'm kind of obsessive about that, you know? So
would you say you're obsessive about the work itself, or like the process, or the result?
Everything. I would say everything. The result, like for instance, right now I have I have plans in March to go to Asia, potentially like Taiwan and then Japan. And there are a lot of things I have to do before then. There's a lot of money I need to make before then. And I'm just gonna do everything I can to do it. You know what I mean? Like, just keep making moves constantly to secure that. Because I know if I do that, one, it'll be good for me spiritually and like in terms of my career, but two, it'll be like, it's kind of like a new level. You know what I mean? Like, I'm always just thinking of doing whatever I can to like get to the next level without doing anything that I don't feel comfortable with, or doing anything that's going to like sacrifice someone else so I can go up, you know? So, yeah, I mean, I totally worry about the future. And like in like a personal sense too, like, I don't know, with playing these shows and stuff and living the rock star life, like, you fall into some habits that are bad. And that's something recently that I've had to really start paying attention to. You know, it's like, you don't have to like go out all the time. Like, you don't have to say yes to everything everyone offers you. And, you know, sometimes I feel weird just being in place, like my job being, I go to places where people get fucked up to my music. Like, sometimes that kind of worries me a little bit. So, but I don't know, I can't really do anything about that. You know what I mean?
At the end of the day, though,
people are going to do what they want to do.
That's number one. And then number two is like, you're at the end of the day, you are also in control of your reality too.
Exactly.
Like, you're also realizing your vision by being able to put your music out and other people will be able to listen and receive it how they do.
Right. And like, that's why recently, with that last project I was making, I feel like Manapool was me going out a lot and doing a lot of stuff. And this new project is like, I'm just in the crib. Like I've been telling you lately, like I haven't really been going out. I haven't really been partying that hard or anything for like weeks. Like I just got back from LA. Haven't gone out really once. And if I have, well, I have gone out like twice, but it was like one time was alone and I went and had a drink and left. And the other time was with one person, was with Nadir. And we were there so we could like get a venue secured.
Oh yeah, fuck it. I was proud of going.
Good.
What's good? What's good? Like y'all was trying to make some songs come out. Like what's going on?
So we've done 2 shows. Prada is a band I started with Nadir of Materia, and we're like an experimental trance band, Midwestern trance. But we kind of stopped after the second show. But something about Prada is me and Nadir have sort of a design agency. Like I told you, I've been designing a lot of stuff lately. And Prada isn't the name of the agency, but it basically functions the same way. And so all the time that we would be spending on Prada, we've been in my studio designing flyers and products and things like that. And we plan to get back into the studio tomorrow. And instead of just jamming on our equipment, we're going to write parts in Ableton, like basically start writing a song. And then from there, we'll deconstruct the aspects of or the elements of the song and put it into our 404s, like play it live.
That must be fucking fun.
Yeah, it's fun as hell. I love making music with Nadir.
Right. I mean, it is December, fuck it, it's December 21st. Mm-hmm. So like, what are you most proud of this year, 2023, December 21st? What is something that like you was like, man, this is so dope that I accomplished this year?
You know, honestly, I feel proud of myself to be able to say it, but there's too many things. There's too many little moments of it, and like things I've achieved, and like goals I've achieved. But I think overall it'd probably be Materia. Like, this shit we're doing now is insane. Like, you know, our shows have gotten really big. We have basically a pretty strong grasp over St. Louis at this point, and it hasn't changed. Like, our attitudes hasn't changed, and our branding hasn't changed. And I don't know, I think big things are coming with that, for sure. But basically, I'm just You know, I'm really just proud of myself for leaving a shitty ass situation, coming home, making a consistent bag, not having to go to a fucking job. Like, that's what I'm most proud of, you know what I mean? Even if it's not gonna be, I think it will be long-term sustainable. But even if this was something that would stop in a few months, it's like, off of art and music, I've been able to live my life very comfortably ever since I moved back to St. Louis. You know, haven't had to worry about really anything, financially at least. So I'm proud of myself for that, you know?
It's a blessing.
Yeah, exactly. It's just an absolute blessing.
Sure.
So I guess the thing I'm most proud of in 2023, myself.
So
overall.
Okay. So anything 2024, what is something that you were trying to accomplish musically?
I have this idea of a project that's like, whereas you said Manapool was rebellious, I have this idea of a rebellious project where I'm trying to think of the right words to use, but basically something that is kind of alienating to my fans, like something like challenging for them to listen to, not in a way that's not good, but just challenging in the sense that it's like now we're listening to 10-minute long songs, and you're going to be like, it's going to be like an ambient build for like 3 minutes or something, you know? I really just want to put out a very artistic piece this year, and that's what I think the LP will be eventually, kind of like very long form pieces. There's this thing in video games called like a player filter, and that's like the moment in the game where they either make something so hard or so unsettling, or just it asks so much from the player that it filters the real ones in and filters the fake ones out. And I kind of want to make an album that's kind of like a Manapool filter. Like the only people that are really going to get into this are the people that fully get it. Like fully are there.
That's chaotic as fuck. You gaining new fans and then you just like, nah, y'all posers need to go. And you don't even have like that. You're just like, nah, fuck you guys. Like, no.
But also though, I think it'll take these new fans and it'll show them something they don't know they like. You know what I mean? Like, because like all these things all these different genres I mess with, like drum and bass and trance and jungle and like ambient and like high tech shit, is like they're all kind of camps of people. They're associated with each other and they're adjacent, but I feel like I'm kind of the only artist that brings them together, if that makes sense. And I want this next project to truly be that. To truly be like everyone from all these areas can get into it. But it's also going to show those people in those other areas like something new, you know? But it is also a little bit chaotic. I kind of...
That already always is kind of chaotic.
It's like, with Mana no Udo is me being rebellious of the silent core thing, whereas like everything was really clean and silent core, and like not that sampled, and then Mana no Udo is very sampled. But this next project, it's like, it's going to be like silent core, but expanded heavily. Like, just a very much deeper version of what I did there, I think. Like, I want to get really in my head about this project, if that makes sense. Like, really obsessive about it. If anything, like, almost like, there's a genre tag for my biggest influence on one of his pieces, and it was called Modern Orchestral. And there's not really an orchestra going on there, but like I get that vibe. Like I understand what he means, and that's kind of what I want to channel into this next piece.
Sure. Any kind of like dream collaborations that you would like to have? Like any dream collaborations?
No.
Okay.
Not really. I used to have dream collaborations and stuff like that, but now I feel like a lot of those people are my friends.
Isn't that tight?
Yeah, and then the people that I would want to collab with, I kind of want to keep them separate from me, if that makes sense. Like, you can continue being like just, well, not you, all artists are people, but you know what I mean? It's like, you can continue to be the creator of stuff I like. Like, I don't want to like get personally.